Okay, so picture this. You're standing at the finish line of a marathon, one you've been running for 40 long years. That's pretty much the scene we're jumping into with the Book of Deuteronomy. Moses is giving this one last, super urgent speech to a whole new generation of Israelites. You see, they're right on the edge of the Promised Land, the very place their parents completely failed to reach. And the name of the book, Deuteronomy, it literally means second law, which kind of gives the whole game away. This is their second chance.
Yep, 40 years. That's how long it took them, wandering in the wilderness just to get to this one spot, right on the border of the land God had promised them. But here's the crazy part. The journey from Mount Horeb, where they got the law, to the edge of the Promised Land, it should have taken 11 days. Just 11. So the huge question that just hangs over this entire book is how on earth did an 11-day trip turn into a 40-year nightmare? So let's set the scene a bit. It's 1406 BC. They're on the plains of Moab, and Moses, well, he knows his time is almost up. He's looking out at this crowd, a generation that has only ever known life in the desert. They didn't live through the slavery in Egypt, and they didn't see the rebellion that sealed their parents' fate. Moses knows if they're going to have any chance at a future, they absolutely have to understand their past.
And to do that, Moses knows he can't just talk about the future. First, he has to take them back, all the way back to this one, single, critical moment of failure. It all happened at a place called Kadesh Barnea, and it's where an entire generation's faith was put to the test and just completely fell apart.
And you have to get this. You have to understand just how ridiculously close they were. The whole trip from Horeb to the border of the Promised Land was only about 150 miles. I mean, they were literally standing on the doorstep, ready to just walk right into their destiny.
And what's interesting is, this next part, it was actually the people's idea. They went to Moses and asked him to send in 12 spies, one from each tribe, to check out the land. And, on the surface, that sounds pretty smart, right? A little military recon, see what you're up against.
But then the spies came back, and 10 of them, well, they gave a report that was all fear and zero faith. They started talking about giants, about these massive, impenetrable cities, and their words, full of terror, just spread through the camp like a poison. It drained every last bit of courage from the people and made them totally forget that God had promised to fight for them.
The fallout from this was, well, it was catastrophic. Because of their fear, their rebellion, their total lack of trust, God condemned that entire generation. They were sentenced to wander the wilderness until every single one of them was dead. Think about that. Their 11-day trip had just turned into a 40-year funeral procession. Okay, so let's fast forward those 40 years. A whole new generation is now standing in pretty much the exact same spot. They're facing the same kind of powerful enemies, the same kinds of fortified cities, but this time the result is completely different. And this is the core lesson Moses is trying to hammer home. You see the difference? For that first generation at Kadesh Barnea, it was a simple path. Fear led to rebellion, and rebellion led straight to defeat. But for this new generation, the path was faith, which led to obedience, which resulted in a stunning victory. And we're not talking about small wins here. This new generation took down 2 incredibly powerful kings, Sihon and Og, and they captured 60 fortified cities. They were learning a massive lesson right there on the battlefield. When they actually obeyed, God showed up and kept his promise to fight for them. And if you want the ultimate proof, get this. One of those kings they defeated, King Og of Bashan, was a literal giant. I mean, the guy's bed was over 13 feet long. So through faith, this new generation conquered the exact same kind of tall people that made their parents run away in terror. So, you see, Moses is using these incredible stories, one of total failure and one of amazing victory, as a kind of backdrop for his real point. He's trying to teach them that the law isn't just some boring list of rules. No, it's the very foundation of their relationship with God.
And it all starts with this one huge rule, an absolute ban on making idols. Moses really drives this home by reminding them, hey, remember at the mountain, you heard a voice coming out of the fire, but you didn't see a single thing, no form. The logic is really simple, right? You can't make a statue of a god you've never actually seen.
And building on that foundation, Moses gives them something called the Shema. This would become the absolute central prayer and confession of the Jewish faith. It's a declaration first of who God is. The Lord is one. And second, who they're supposed to be in relation to him, people who love him with everything they've got, their mind, their soul, their strength.
He then basically breaks this whole relationship down into 5 simple actions. You can almost think of it like a path. You start with a healthy fear, a respect for God. That leads you to walk in his ways. And that walk is fueled by love, which you show through serving him, and you live it all out by actually keeping his commands. Simple as that. So, as Moses starts wrapping up this epic, final speech, he lays out the stakes in the clearest, most direct way possible. All the history, all the law, everything he's told them, it all boils down to one single choice. He basically sets 2 paths in front of them. Path number 1 is obedience. That leads to blessing, life, prosperity, abundant harvests, and actually getting to keep the land. Path number 2, disobedience. That one leads to a curse, no rain, total destruction, and getting kicked right out of the very land they're about to enter. There's no third option, no middle ground. So, there it is. Moses has laid it all out. The tragic failure of their parents, their own recent incredible taste of victory, the real heart of God's law, and of course, the ultimate choice between life and death. The past was a clear warning, and the future was a promise. The only question left hanging in the air was, which path would they choose?